The crisp autumn air bit at my cheeks as I fumbled with my keys, the familiar brass cold against my skin. The porch light of our little suburban home was burnt out again, a task Ethan had promised to get to last weekend. Another thing forgotten, I thought, the bitterness a familiar, sour taste in the mouth of my marriage. I let myself in, the silence of the house greeting me like a physical presence. It was a Tuesday. Ethan was on another one of his business trips, a phrase that had begun to feel flimsy, like tissue paper holding back a flood. My name is Chloe. For 6 years, I'd built a life with Ethan, a man I once believed was my anchor. We met in college, 2 kids with stars in their eyes. He was the charismatic business major, all confident smiles and firm handshakes. I was the quiet art history graduate, drawn to his light. But the stars had dimmed, replaced by the cold, blue glow of his phone screen and the ever-widening chasm between us in our king-sized bed. I dropped my bag on the hallway console, the sound echoing in the stillness. My life had become a series of quiet routines, punctuated by Ethan's absences. I was lonely. It's a simple, devastating word. It's the hollow feeling in your chest when you eat dinner alone for the 3rd night in a row, the way you start talking to the television just to hear a human voice. I was about to surrender to another evening of microwave meals and mindless scrolling when the doorbell chimed, a cheerful, 2-tone sound that felt alien in the gloom. I wasn't expecting anyone. Peering through the peephole, my breath caught in my throat. It was Jake Miller, Ethan's best friend, his brother from another mother, as they so often joked. He was a constant in our lives, the guy at every barbecue, the best man at our wedding, the one who always remembered my birthday when Ethan sometimes faltered. He was the solid, reliable counterpoint to Ethan's flashy energy. Where Ethan was all sharp angles and ambitious fire, Jake was built steady, with kind eyes that held a quiet depth and a calmness that I'd always found comforting. I opened the door, forcing a smile. Jake, hey, what are you doing here? He stood on the porch, his hands shoved into the pockets of his leather jacket, a slight chill clinging to him. He offered a small, hesitant smile. Hey, Chloe, sorry for just dropping by unannounced. I was in the neighborhood, picking up some parts for my bike, and I saw your light on. I wanted to check on you. Check on me? I asked, stepping aside to let him in. I'm fine. Just another thrilling Tuesday. He stepped into the foyer, his presence immediately making the large house feel smaller, warmer. He looked around, his gaze taking in the neat, unlived-in quality of the living room. Ethan's away again. Denver this time, I said, the words tasting like ash. Some big merger. You know how it is. Jake nodded slowly, but his eyes didn't leave my face. They held a strange intensity, a knowing look that made my carefully constructed composure feel thin. Yeah, I know how it is. He paused, shifting his weight. Can I talk to you for a minute, Chloe? Actually talk. A knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. This wasn't a social call. The usual easy banter was absent, replaced by a heavy, unspoken tension. Sure, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Let's go to the kitchen. I can make coffee. He followed me, his silence more unnerving than any words could have been. I busied myself with the coffee maker, the familiar clicks and gurgles, a pathetic attempt to fill the void. When I turned around, 2 mugs in hand, I found him leaning against the kitchen island, watching me with that same, unsettling look. Chloe, he began, his voice low and serious. I can't do this anymore. I can't keep watching this. Watching what? I asked, though a part of me already knew. This, he gestured vaguely between me and the empty space where a husband should be. You, the way you're fading, the light in your eyes, it's going out, and he's the one dimming it. The mug trembled in my hand. I set it down carefully, the ceramic clinking against the granite. Jake, that's not, it's just a rough patch. Marriage is hard. It's not a rough patch, Chloe. It's a pattern. He ran a hand through his dark hair, a gesture of frustration I'd seen him make 100 times, but never about this. Never about us. Do you know where he really is right now? The question hung in the air, sharp and dangerous. My heart hammered against my ribs. He's in Denver. For work. Jake shook his head, a slow, sad movement. He's in a boutique hotel in Napa Valley. With his assistant, Jessica. It's not the first time. The world tilted. The floor beneath my feet felt unstable, like the ground in an earthquake. All the late nights, the missed anniversaries, the emotional distance, it all crystallized in that one, brutal sentence. The truth wasn't a surprise, it was a confirmation of a fear I'd been too cowardly to name. A sob caught in my throat, but I choked it back, my pride a flimsy shield. How do you know that? I managed to ask, my voice trembling. Because he told me, Jake said, his own voice thick with what sounded like shame. He brags about it, Chloe. To me, he thinks it's funny, a game. He calls it, managing his assets. The vulgarity of it, the sheer disrespect, was a physical blow. I gripped the edge of the counter, my knuckles turning white. Hot tears finally spilled over, tracing paths down my cheeks. I was humiliated, broken. I'm so sorry, Jake whispered, taking a step toward me. I've wanted to tell you for months. Every time I saw you, my heart would break a little more. You deserve so much more than this. You deserve someone who sees how incredible you are. Who sees your strength, your kindness, the way your whole face lights up when you talk about a painting you love. He was close now, close enough for me to see the gold flecks in his brown eyes, to smell the faint scent of leather and autumn air on his jacket. His words weren't just pity, they were observant, specific. He saw me. In a way Ethan hadn't in years, Jake saw me. What happened next shocked me, I whispered, the phrase that would later title this story forming on my lips in real time. Because Jake didn't try to hug me. He didn't offer empty platitudes. He simply reached out, his hand gentle, and cupped my cheek, his thumb wiping away a tear. And then he kissed me. It wasn't a passionate, frantic kiss. It was slow, tender, a question, not a demand. It was a kiss full of 6 years of unspoken admiration, of shared laughter, of quiet concern. It was a kiss that held all the words he'd never been able to say, all the feelings he'd locked away out of loyalty to a man who deserved none. And the most shocking part? I kissed him back. For a few dizzying seconds, every atom of my being was aligned. The loneliness vanished, replaced by a sense of rightness, of being truly seen, that was so profound it was terrifying. My hands came up, clutching the soft leather of his jacket, holding on as if he were the only solid thing in my collapsing world. Then, reality crashed back in. I pulled away, stumbling back a step, my hand flying to my lips. Jake, we can't. You're his best friend. I know, he said, his chest rising and falling rapidly. And I have never, ever been disloyal to him. Not until this moment. But my loyalty to his friendship ended the moment my loyalty to you began. The moment I realized that protecting you from his lies was more important than protecting his secrets. His words were a balm and a brand. They soothed the raw wound of betrayal while simultaneously sealing my complicity in a new one. I have to go, I said, my voice shaky. I need to think. He nodded, his expression a mixture of regret and resolve. I understand. I'm not asking for anything, Chloe. I just needed you to know the truth. And I needed you to know that you're not alone. He left then, the soft click of the front door echoing like a gunshot in the silent house. I slid down the kitchen cabinet onto the cold tile floor, wrapping my arms around my knees. My mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, the gut-wrenching pain of Ethan's infidelity, the searing guilt of my kiss with Jake, and beneath it all, a tiny, defiant spark of liberation. The truth was out. The carefully constructed facade of my marriage was shattered. The next few days were a blur of numbness and frantic activity. I called in sick to work. I couldn't face the gallery, the polite chatter, the need to pretend everything was fine. I moved through the house like a ghost, the silence now screaming with accusations. I confronted the evidence I'd been willfully ignoring, the credit card receipts for fancy restaurants in cities he wasn't supposed to be in, the perfume on his collar that wasn't mine, the password-protected phone he guarded like a state secret. I didn't call Jake. I didn't call anyone. I needed to sit with the wreckage, to understand what I wanted, not what was being done to me or offered to me. 3 days after Jake's visit, Ethan came home. He breezed in, dropping his suitcase with a theatrical sigh. Honey, I'm home. You would not believe the traffic from the airport. I was sitting on the sofa, a book open but unread on my lap. I watched him, this stranger I'd married, and felt nothing but a cold, clear detachment. Did you have a good trip? I asked, my voice unnervingly calm. How was Denver? Exhausting, he said, loosening his tie. Meetings back to back, but productive, very productive. I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the faint tan line on his finger where his wedding ring should have been. I saw the relaxed set of his shoulders, the ease of a man who believed his lies were still airtight. I spoke to Jake, I said quietly. His demeanor shifted instantly. A flicker of unease crossed his face before he masked it with a casual shrug. Oh yeah, how's the old man? He came by. He was in the neighborhood, picking up parts for his bike. I repeated Jake's words verbatim, watching Ethan's face carefully. He told me something interesting. Ethan's smile was strained. Yeah, what did he say? He told me you're not his best friend anymore. The color drained from Ethan's face. What are you talking about? Of course I am. He's probably pissed I didn't call him this week. He told me you're in Napa Valley with Jessica. Not Denver. The silence that followed was absolute. It was the sound of a life imploding. Ethan's mouth opened, then closed. He looked like a fish out of water, gasping for an explanation that wouldn't come. Chloe, listen to me, he finally stammered, taking a step toward me. Jake is lying. He's always been jealous of us, of what we have. He's trying to break us up. It was the weakest, most pathetic defense, and it confirmed everything. The last shred of hope I didn't even know I was clinging to dissolved into nothing. Don't, I said, standing up. My voice was steady, laced with a steel I didn't know I possessed. Don't you dare insult my intelligence, and don't you dare blame Jake for your choices. He was a better friend to you than you ever deserved. And he's a better man than you could ever hope to be. I walked past him, into our bedroom, and pulled my suitcase from the closet. I started packing, my movements methodical, precise. I was an automaton, fueled by a cold, purifying fury. Ethan stood in the doorway, pleading, then yelling, then pleading again. He called me irrational. He said I was throwing away 6 years over a misunderstanding. He threatened, he begged. But I was done. The spell was broken. The man behind the curtain was just a small, pathetic coward. I'm going to my sister's, I said, zipping the suitcase closed. I'll have my lawyer contact you. As I walked out of the house that was no longer a home, I didn't look back. The chill in the air felt different this time. It felt clean. It felt like a new beginning. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. The divorce proceedings were ugly. Ethan, cornered and exposed, fought dirty. He tried to hide assets, he spread rumors through our mutual friends, he even had the gall to try and paint Jake as a home wrecker. But I held firm. The truth, once out in the open, has a power of its own. Through it all, I kept my distance from Jake. It wasn't out of a lack of feeling. The memory of that kiss was a constant, warm ember in the cold chaos of my life. But I needed to stand on my own 2 feet. I needed to know that the decisions I was making were for me, Chloe, not as a reaction to Ethan or a rebound with Jake. I found a small apartment, filled it with my own things, my own art. I started painting again, something I'd given up years ago because Ethan thought it was a nice hobby. I reconnected with friends I'd drifted from. I was rebuilding myself, piece by piece. It was a crisp Saturday morning, 2 months after I'd left, when I finally felt strong enough. I was at a local farmer's market, buying apples, when I saw him. Jake. He was standing by a stall selling handmade soaps, looking just as solid and real as ever. Our eyes met across the crowd. There was no hesitation in his step as he walked toward me. Chloe, he said, his voice a low, warm rumble. Jake. We stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. The market buzzed around us, a vibrant tapestry of life moving forward. How are you? He asked, his eyes searching mine. I'm good, I said, and for the first time, I meant it. I'm really good. It's been hard, but I'm good. He nodded, a slow smile spreading across his face. You look radiant. There was no more talk of Ethan. He was a ghost from a past life. I was about to get a coffee, Jake said, gesturing to a small cafe at the edge of the market. Would you like to join me? No expectations. Just coffee. I looked at this man who had risked a lifelong friendship to give me the truth. This man who had seen my pain and offered not a solution, but solidarity. This man whose kiss had been the catalyst for my own liberation. I smiled, a genuine, unforced smile that reached my eyes. I'd like that, I said. I'd like that a lot. As we walked toward the cafe, the autumn sun warm on our faces, I knew this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning, a complicated, messy, beautiful beginning born from the ashes of betrayal. The shock of that night had subsided, replaced by the quiet, steady hum of possibility. And for the first time in a very long time, I was excited to see what would happen next.